War Pugs. So, we're going to be going into the very next section of Desert Storm as presented by the operations room. And so far, it has been a just absolutely brilliant display of how this information is presented, of how the actual war itself progressed, and somebody with a very loud engine outside is rolling by, excuse me. But this has been an absolutely amazing display. I love channels like this. I hadn't heard of the operations room before you guys recommended this to me, and I am glad to be going through this with you guys right now, because I'll tell you this, very little of these stories would be known if not for channels like this. And once again, I fall back to General Schwarzkopf's media briefing. I would very highly recommend that to anybody. But this in and of itself is, once again, one of the best series that I've seen, and I can't wait to see how he portrays what happened in day 2 of this actual invasion, and just how quickly it turned from a terrible situation to the worst case scenario for the Iraqi army. We're going to jump into this, guys. All the operations rooms links are in the description down below. I highly recommend that you check them out. Check me out as well. My store is down there, everything like that. Artwork done by Valk, just like that one right back there that you see. Guys, let's jump right in. I've been looking forward to getting back into this. Let's go.
This video is sponsored by Conflict of Nations, a free online player versus player strategy game where you can lead your nation in a modern day global conflict. Set in the present day, research and make best use of over 100 cutting-edge weapons and vehicles to fight with up to 64 real players at a time in exciting real-time combat. Declare war on your neighbours or forge alliances as strong as the coalition of Desert Storm. Conquer provinces, take capitals, and fight for world domination in hard-fought campaigns that can last weeks. Conflict of Nations is cross-platform, so you can compete with your friends on both PC and mobile on the same account to find out who is the ultimate general. The Operations Room fans who sign up by clicking the unique link below will receive 13,000 gold and a month of premium subscription completely free. Don't miss out, as the offer is only available for 30 days.
There we go.
Click the link in the description below, choose your country.
Now this is an older video. I do not believe the sponsorship is still active.
And start fighting your way to victory. General Norman Schwarzkopf returns to the war room in Riyadh at 4 AM on Monday the 25th of February 1991, G+1, after a few hours sleep. He observes the large war map, showing the live dispositions of his forces. Nearly all Iraqi divisions on the front line, mostly made up of conscripts, have been annihilated. The 240 Abrams tanks of the 24th Infantry Division of 18 Corps have marauded across the border and aggressively penetrated 80 miles into Iraq. After slow progress securing objective Rochambeau on day 1, the French Daguet is preparing to launch its assault on their objective at As Salman crossroads and airfield. After their daring helicopter assault behind enemy lines on day 1, the legendary and respected 101st Airborne have progressed the construction of their forward operating base at Objective Cobra and prepare to launch a new advance to take and cut off Highway 8 in the Euphrates Valley. Highway 8 is not only Saddam Hussein's main supply line to his forces in Kuwait, but also controlling the road will allow the 101st to destroy any Iraqi military vehicles in retreat. The US Marines and Arab forces in the east continue their excellent progress towards Kuwait City.
I believe this day was actually Kuwait's Independence Day. Which, I mean, oh my god, can you imagine?
Marine helicopters perform mock attack runs towards the coastline at Faylaka Island. This is a feint and gives a portion of Iraqi troops the false impression that an amphibious assault could be incoming, keeping some of their attention focused in the wrong direction.
They were obsessed with an amphibious assault.
As well as the liberation of Kuwait, the other coalition war goal is to destroy the Iraqi Republican Guard, neutralizing it as a potent force for years to come. For this reason, the heavy armoured divisions of 7 Corps need to be making fast progress north to cut off any divisions that try to escape Kuwait. The difference in progress between the left and right flanks and 7 Corps in the centre is vast. Furious, Schwarzkopf demands to know why they're so slow. In reality, the 24th Infantry Division of 18 Corps has met minimal resistance in their march northwards, whereas 7 Corps had to breach the defences of the Saddam Line. The logistical pressure placed on 7 Corps by moving the main assault forward by 15 hours on day 1 has been significant, and so logistical chains can't reasonably be expected to be at full efficiency. Some in Schwarzkopf's circle of staff officers believe that he knows more than he lets on, and is simply exaggerating for effect to light a fire under his generals.
This is probably more true than anything else. Many times Schwarzkopf said that the battle plan was progressing better than expected and ahead of schedule.
The first action of Day 2 takes place on the western flank of 7 Corps. The 1st and 3rd Armoured Divisions are manoeuvring across the desert to catch up with the 2nd Armoured Cavalry Regiment already in Iraq. They hope to reach the supply depot at Al-Bashaya later on, before dark. 1st Armoured's Divisional MLRS battery covers the mass of Abrams tanks as they roll forward. The conscripts of the Iraqi 806th Infantry Brigade are the unfortunate souls to be the first unit in their way. The display of firepower brought against them is short but very violent. Like the other conscripts on the front line, their resistance to the tank assault is minimal, and they surrender as soon as possible. The 1st Infantry Division advance beyond the remnants of the Saddam Line to clear the area beyond of Iraqi units. Once they're happy that the area is clear, they begin to guide the British 1st Armoured Division through the breach at 10 AM. The plan is to line up the divisions of 7 and 18 Corps in an echelon right formation, stretching from the Kuwaiti border to Highway 8, and then wheel the 2 corps in a right turn to hit the Republican Guard armoured divisions en masse. The 2 groups of the French Daguet are continuing their cautious advance north. Group East advance up the main road towards As Salman. Group West approach an area of land west of As Salman airfield. At 9:30 AM, French Gazelles of the 3rd RHC attack a few scattered Iraqi armoured vehicles with anti-tank missiles and fire short bursts of 20mm cannon fire near trenches. Again, the defending Iraqis have no desire to fight, and this is enough for them to surrender.
It's actually stunning the amount of time that was used to process POWs. That was the biggest time. That was the biggest thing that caused the most time. I'd say in terms of time spent was processing POWs, because the conscripts just, and nobody really knew this until the war broke out. The conscripts were just, they hated to be there. They didn't want to be there. They knew they were being used for cannon fodder, and they wanted no part of it.
The Gazelles continue to hammer bunkers. A short artillery burst covers the French tanks moving unopposed into the objective. An Iraqi with his arms aloft holds out a surrender leaflet dropped on his troops days earlier, furious that his comrades had to endure an hour of artillery and helicopter attack before being given the opportunity to surrender. Group East encounters a company of Iraqi T-55 tanks. 2 Gazelles and an A-10 batter the column, destroying half of the 15 vehicles, and French tanks roll forward to finish them off. Given the hopelessness of their situation, nearby Iraqi infantry show courage standing up to the French tanks, firing RPGs at close range. However, they are eventually overcome by machine gun fire from the tanks. Group East continue moving north. Simultaneously in Kuwait, the Arab forces of Joint Forces Command East are moving up the coastal road. They're about 12 miles southeast of the northernmost US Marine elements. The commander of Task Force Papa Bear of the 1st Marine Division believes that a series of overground pipelines and sabotage burning oil wells to their east are enough to deter an enemy attack to their flank. They're wrong. Thick morning fog covers the advance of a recon unit of T-55s against Papa Bear's command post. Nobody spots them break through the fog, and the Iraqi tanks open fire into the command post tent. Miraculously, nobody inside is hit. Chaos erupts as Marines return fire with anti-tank weapons and small arms fire. Had the Iraqis taken advantage of the chaos and continued to press their attack, they could very realistically have overrun the command post. An American corporal bravely charges at the tanks on foot and destroys a T-55 with a shoulder-launched AT-4. As the fog begins to lift, it's clear that a significant counterattack is in motion. 8 miles north, Iraqi artillery zeroes in on the 1st Marine Division forward command post, likely using radio direction finding equipment to lock onto and home in on the command post radio antennae farm. This post is currently hosting the 1st Marine Division commander, Major General Mayat. Iraqi BMP armoured personnel carriers open fire through the mist from a tree line to the east. Infantrymen disembark and small arms fire and anti-tank missiles streak into the Marine encampment. The Iraqi force is brigade strength and is now just a few hundred metres away. 7 Marine LAV armoured personnel carriers and 40 infantrymen respond, forming a line and returning fire with small arms and anti-tank missiles, and the LAV's 25mm cannon. Realising the seriousness of their situation, the Marines request all available nearby Cobra attack helicopters to beat back the enemy line. The Iraqi troops are too close for Marine artillery support. The first of the responding Cobras scream in and hammer the enemy line with cannon and rocket fire. Seeing the Cobras, Captain Stephen Ray, commanding the LAV platoon, orders an aggressive counterattack against the larger Iraqi force. They roll forward, stopping only to reload their 25mm cannon with fresh belts of 600 rounds. Iraqi gunnery is terrible, and they score no hits on the marauding LAVs. More Cobras arrive to join the Marines lighting up the tree line. The aggressive move forces the enemy to retreat through the woods. Ray continues the pursuit for a kilometre. Satisfied that the majority of the brigade's vehicles have been destroyed,
imagine the explaining that you have to do if you're leading this counterattack. You got stopped short by 7 LAVs, some helicopters, and a couple of and a whole bunch of mad lads. This is what happened. You had to turn around and run at brigade strength with armored vehicles against LAVs and 40 dudes in a trench.
He shows mercy and allows the last of the disarmed fleeing Iraqis to escape. With 38 vehicles destroyed and 300 Iraqi prisoners of war, Captain Ray is awarded the Navy Cross, second
deserved
only to the Medal of Honor for heroism. Task Force Papa Bear have M60 tanks immediately available to hit back against the attacking Iraqi forces, and with the fog lifted, a large tank battle is in progress. Marine jets and Cobras have been scrambled and pound the enemy vehicles, with M60s and LAVs hammering the inferior Iraqi tanks. Particularly fearsome is a flight of 4 Cobras led by Captain Randy Hammond. They form a wide line abreast and fly northeast at 20 knots. Each helicopter begins the assault with 4 TOW missiles, 14 rockets, 4 Hellfire missiles, and 700 20mm cannon rounds. They expend their entire munitions load in just 10 minutes. Over the next couple of hours, the Marines wipe out 2 enemy brigades, including nearly 100 armoured vehicles. The US 1st and 3rd Armoured Divisions are making...
Now this is... We're really starting to get into things. I know about basic troop movements and how this battle progressed, but I don't know some of the stuff that he's going into, some of the finer details, like the corporal that sat there and took out the tank, took out the armored vehicle, and some of these other engagements I know nothing about, so this is all new to me.
Making their way north towards Al-Bashaya, sweeping over all resistance. The British 1st Armoured Division is continuing its transition through the safe lanes of the Saddam Line. The 1st Cavalry Division advances into Iraq, skirmishing with Iraqi armour on the right flank. At just after midday, 60 Chinooks of the 101st Airborne from the forward operating base at Objective Cobra arrive at an area of land 27 miles southwest of Highway 8. They don't have the range to reach Highway 8, so each drop 2 Humvees with TOW anti-tank launchers. These vehicles immediately depart northeast towards a rendezvous area near the highway. In 4 hours' time, Black Hawks will deliver the main infantry assault force directly to the rendezvous point, where the plan is for the combined force to take the highway together. However, heavy wind and rain has turned the Humvee's route into a muddy bog, and progress is nearly impossible. The French assault on the airfield at As Salman is ready to proceed at 2:30 p.m. First, a squadron of A-10s roll in to drop bombs on the hangars and bunkers. Following them, Gazelles move in to attack vehicles and bunkers with anti-tank weapons. 900 artillery and mortar shells are lobbed into the airfield as the 3 ground assault teams breach the perimeter. Team 1 clears the hangars on the west side of the airfield, Team 2 clear the hangars on the east side, and then the tanks of Team 3 smash through the fence in the centre and clear the buildings on the other side of the runway. Destroying a single tank, the Daguet finds the airfield abandoned and begin to clear the area of anti-personnel cluster bomblets dropped on the runway during the air campaign. At 4:10 p.m, the Black Hawks of the 101st drop their infantry into the muddy bog a mile south of Highway 8. The mud is almost knee-deep and oozes into the infantryman's boots. Every man displays a gutsy determination, trudging through the mile of thick mud towards the highway, carrying 120-pound packs. The artillery and Humvees dropped by the Chinooks earlier are delayed. The going is so hard that the second lift of infantrymen is cancelled until the following day. It takes several hours to make the gruelling march, after which the 101st set up roadblocks in 2 places along Highway 8. Mercifully, they meet little resistance. Their first catch is a convoy of 4 trucks. American machine gun fire rips into the lead vehicle and the convoy halts, the drivers running away into the night. With hopes and dreams of a shipment of Scud missiles and tank shells, scouts search the vehicles. They report of a shipment of onions. At 6 p.m, 1 brigade of the British 1st Armoured Division is through the breach and clearing pockets of resistance northeast. They form the southeasternmost point of the Great Echelon, stretching northwest beyond al-Bashaya. Bogged down by surrendering Iraqis, the 1st Armoured Division postponed their assault on al-Bashaya until tomorrow morning. With orders to find the enemy, but not to become decisively engaged, the 2nd Armoured Cavalry Regiment probes east into the night towards Kuwait. They encounter and skirmish with the Iraqi 50th and 37th Armoured Brigades, screening units for the Tawakalna Republican Guard Division waiting in the darkness. During a confused engagement at night, Iraqi tanks and American friendly fire account for 2 damaged Bradleys and 3 M113 APCs destroyed. Behind them, Frag Plan 7 is in motion, and the echelon of divisions make a complex and dangerous wheeling right turn. The manoeuvre is hazardous because excitable and enthusiastic tank crew might mistake vehicles from other friendly divisions around them for enemy units, especially at night through their infrared sights in bad weather.
This was a massive concern.
No such fratricide occurs.
Yay.
Each armoured division like a finger clenching into the fist, the mighty punch of steel and fury is about to be unleashed. Thanks again to our sponsor, Conflict of Nations, for supporting this video. Don't forget to support the Operations Room by clicking the link in the description below and starting your journey to global victory today.
The progression really picks up from here. It greatly picks up from here. There was a lot of speculation that America was going to try to overthrow Baghdad, everything like that. And there was a lot of talk about that, especially during during the war. The 101st at that point, I believe it was at that point during Desert Storm, was 150 miles away from Baghdad, and there was no one between them and Baghdad itself. If they had wanted to, if it had been the desire of the United States and the coalition to take Baghdad, it would have been taken at that moment. There was nothing to stop the 101st once they reached Highway 8. I believe it was at that point that they were in that position where the capital of Iraq was wide open. There are several other instances in this. The things I just didn't know about this. The LAV assault. Imagine being that Iraqi commander that has to go back and explain how you lost all those armored vehicles. I don't think you're gonna you're not gonna live. You're just not gonna live. War Pugs, the operations room has done an amazing job with this, and I love finding out things like this that I just did not know. There's so many stories in times like this that just boggle the mind in terms of, how have I never heard of this? Why haven't I ever heard of this? The story of the French basically laying waste to that entire area, and the one guy standing there with a pamphlet like, I'm trying to surrender, man, I don't want no smoke. In the meantime, shells are falling everywhere. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Operations Room has done an amazing job. Please check him out. Subscribe to him if you haven't already. As far as I go, leave me a comment, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys next time. Join as a member of Patreon for early access. Later, War Bugs.